What's up, everybody? My name is Los, and welcome to Powerhouse Brands. I got a good friend here with me. He is a member of the Powerhouse Group, and today we want to talk a little bit about random stuff like knocking on doors in 2021 and making millions of dollars, and how he generated $80,000 plus in a week with a quick little strategy that we help him set up. What's up, brother?
Dude, I'm ready to go. Let's get it.
So, dude, before we get started, talk to me about onlinedoorknockers.com and kind of what you do.
Yeah, so I've been in door-to-door. This is my 7th year doing door-to-door sales. So for you guys that don't understand what that means, it means you literally go to a stranger's house and knock on their door and sell them some shit.
The level of testicles on that.
Yeah, you definitely get a little bit of balls after a few weeks. So we found a niche in coaching people on how to generate online leads for people in door-to-door to supplement, because it can be pretty volatile. You know, so like some weeks you have the best week of your life, you're on top of the world. And then you go 2 weeks and you bagel. That's what we call it when you get no deals, and it's like the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
So being able to get it a little bit more predictable to supplement your teams. We teach people how to recruit. We teach people how to build systems. Just take a messy, sloppy, random industry like door-to-door sales and kind of organize it and build systems. So.
And you joined Powerhouse. I'm going to ask you, because I've never asked you, what made you actually join it besides the dinner that we had?
Yeah. No, it's just people, you know, it's the same as everything else. So my background is I was mentored by a guy named Mark Hoverson before he passed away a couple years ago from cancer. And me, Tyler, Boomer.
Stapes too, right?
Yeah. Stapleton. That's how I met Stapes.
Dope.
That's how I met Landon. And so he was an 8-figure, self-made entrepreneur. He was living in a trailer in like North Dakota or some shit. Really crazy story. And got connected in the online marketing world and just started crushing it. And so there was like a bunch of us. We had a group called Limitless, and we were basically just mentored by this guy, mid-30s, on how to be more successful, how to have a good family life, just like a young entrepreneurs frat club. I mean, we partied a lot, but we got a ton of value from this guy.
Right. And
it basically just evolved into going really deep down the personal development road, investing into yourself, hiring coaches. Mm-hmm. And so ever since he got us connected with certain people, like Mike Dillard and fucking Vince Reed, like a lot of these really cool online marketers that are OGs, been in the business a long time, you realize how quickly things can change when you get connected with the right people.
Right.
You don't know what you don't know. And so you get in front of somebody and they just like fuck your mind with one sentence, and you're like, dude, how did I not even know that this world existed?
Yeah.
And so saw the event. It was a Instagram ad, I think, that you guys ran.
It was.
Yeah, I don't know if I knew about Snow at this point. And so clicked on his profile, clicked on your profile. I was like, oh, these guys are legit. I saw the credibility factor. And I was at a point where we were getting more successful in the businesses. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I just want to grow more. I didn't really have any coaches or mentors at that time.
Right.
And so I saw the event. It was cheap. It was like a couple $1,000 or whatever. So drove out to Arizona, actually pulled over on the freeway to close a deal over Zoom from somebody in New Mexico while I was driving from Utah, and got there and immediately was like one of the smallest fish in the room. Like some of the people that are listening to this, other people in the Powerhouse Mastermind group, I mean, it's like there's some big wigs. And so you get in there and you're like, oh shit, we
just had one of my closest friends. I probably can't even disclose this, but he sold his company for more than $500 million yesterday.
Nuts.
Yeah, I know he's buying a plane. I get to fly in it now. So
yeah, I found out that's a full tax write-off after the last event.
It is. Well, dude, once you joined, let's talk a little bit about that. And guys, it'd be kind of a waste of our time if I asked you how you were broke and then you made money, because that's literally every podcast ever. Yeah. And so we don't want to do that on Powerhouse. It's kind of boring. I want to talk about tactical things that you're implementing today in a crazy space, door knocking, right? Like selling solar, selling things like that. Like, I know that we talked about, and you have a few other things inside of your organization that you guys do. And we talked about, setting some stuff up, and you guys implemented that immediately and had an $80,000 week. Talk to me about, how that system worked, what you guys did, and really what made you actually take action, because we work with a lot of people, and quite frankly, sometimes you'll spell it out for somebody, and they're not going to do it. Yeah. So what changed on the mindset, and then how did you take action on it?
So we'd invested in groups, but we'd never invested this much into a group before. And so we talked about it as a team.
Got to make the money back.
Yeah, no, straight up. Like you invest into something like this, you're like, I'm doing whatever the fuck they say, like immediately, because we got to get this back quick.
Yeah.
And so we set up that call after we joined. And we'd been doing pretty good, you know, better than most people our age. Like, that's such a weak comparison, but we were doing okay. But we knew there was levels to this and we could do a lot better.
Right.
We did a little bit of ads. Most of what we were getting done was organic and like Instagram stories and driving traffic that way from like my personal brand on Instagram. And got off the phone with you and you're like, oh, you need to double your price immediately. And so we're like literally all four of us taking notes.
Yeah,
like, we're like double price.
That.
Yeah, double price immediately, like word for word, verbatim. And then we get off the call and we're like, all right, so are we like doubling our price like right now? We're like talking about, we're like, that's a lot of money. That's like, I think we were charging like $3,800 and so it's gonna be $7,600. And we're like, can people afford that? We're like getting in our heads a little bit and we're like, fuck it, like let's go. So we kind of created like a mini launch strategy to get people the scarcity mindset of like, you know, the urgency of like, yo, our prices are doubling in 1 week. Mm-hmm. So we gave it a week. I posted on my story. We started just like sharing with people, and we've been in business at this point probably about 8 months. And so people kind of knew that we were in the industry, but we didn't have a ton of a track record yet, like tons of reviews and all this stuff. People were curious, but they didn't really pull the trigger. They were like waiting to see. As soon as we did that, the amount of DMs that I got and the amount of calls that I got booked. So up to this point, we were probably getting like 1 call a day, 2 calls a day. I'm running all the sales calls. It's like, you know, we have our Facebook group and we're getting organic leads. We're doing a little bit of traffic to our Facebook group to get calls booked from our setter. And within 24 hours, I was 50% booked through the entire week. Had to open my calendar from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. I told my wife, I was like, hey, by the way, like you can take Nixon, my son. I'm like, you got to take him. Like I'm basically going to sell my soul this week because we're about to make a shit ton of money.
Right.
And so just got on calls. I had an over 50% closing ratio. And it was like everybody that gets in this week gets our grandfathered in pricing, the whole program. After Saturday night at midnight PST, prices double. And so just that urgency and the consistent promo every day, like I was crazy amount of Instagram stories. I was posting testimonials. I was screenshotting things, just going fucking ham. Like literally wake up 6 a.m., go to the gym, and then like 7:05 or whatever, done with my workout, texting people, posting on my Instagram, responding to DMs. Everything's through the personal brand. And by the end of the week, we closed out. And up to that point, I think our biggest month was like, it was like 50K, I think. Like nothing crazy. Yeah, I think that was our biggest month. And that week we finished with over $80,000 in revenue and $65,000 cash collected just from like the money up front right there. Yeah, it was nuts. And we've upsold a lot of those people since then. So it's actually trickled into more money than that.
Right. Yeah, no, I remember you texted me like the third day. You're like, dude, we're at $53,000 right now, and we have like 6 more days. I'm not going to give you a testimony until the 6 days are done. Yeah. I think we can hit 100 on this. And I mean, you passed it if you create annualized and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, we did.
Well, dude, let's talk about this 0 ad spend, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, we just talked. You spent a day here today on like a Fly-In Friday, which is a powerhouse thing that if you're a member, you can come in. And we talked about doubling down on essentially Instagram, right?
Yeah.
But buying media through pages, which is kind of different and stuff like that. A lot of people don't know this, and they don't think it's possible, but you've been able to make over 6 figures, way over that actually. Multiple 6 figures from 2,000 followers.
Yeah, it was actually like I just passed 2,000 like a month ago.
So probably 1,600 followers, 1,500 followers. Yeah. That's insane. I mean, even for us, like, I mean, we're helping you scale it now and stuff like that, which is amazing. But dude, talk to me about just what you've done as a strategy, because there's a lot of people that have 5,000 followers, 8,000, 20, and they don't make $16. You're out here making a couple $100 or more $1,000, and people don't think it's possible. So I want you to kind of share exactly what you're doing, that you've been able to not only do that, but now we're tripling down on this.
Yeah. So a lot of it comes down to the documentation side of things and like being super transparent. Like the cool thing about stories is it's like, people follow you on Instagram and they see the posts, and like usually posts are like dude on a yacht. It's like the most glorified, like sexy version of yourself.
Right.
Versus stories, like, you know, sure, if you really wanted to take the time, you could do filters, but it's pretty raw, it's pretty authentic.
Right.
And I think we're moving into an age of authenticity where people value that more than almost anything else, because there is so much BS. And so I document everything. Like if you go look at my story right now, for the last year plus, I've been consistently posting 5 to sometimes 15 stories a day of, at the gym, paying my dues, a little motivational quote, a couple thoughts of the day, maybe sharing how a business meeting went super well, closed a huge deal. Funny texts that I got from a customer on the doors. All kinds of different things, like, posting about an event or some sort of like training that we're going to be hosting for free in our Facebook group. So it's like a mixture of just my day-to-day and like showing people like this is what a life in a door-to-door sales entrepreneur, like a day in the life looks like, and giving people like a window into what's real, and also sharing the bad stuff. I think that's one thing a lot of people struggle with on social media is they don't want to show the bad stuff. They don't want to show the bad days. Right. And like if I have a bad day, I'll post and I'll be like, yeah, just like ate shit today.
It's what makes you the most authentic.
For sure. And you need that. And people respect that.
Right.
And they want to work with people like that because if they know that you're going to be honest, they know that if they work with you, at the very least, they're going to get somebody that they can trust and that's going to deliver. Or if they don't deliver, they're going to own up to it versus pretending, or like so many people are like, all the good numbers. That's all they show. The best numbers, like the best of everything. And if you show people the vulnerabilities and the transparency, it's more relatable.
It is.
And that's what people are looking for. Because if they can't relate to it, why would they buy it?
Right.
They don't think that it's going to help them because they think you're on a different level than they are. So if they see that I'm a human on their level, they're like, oh, this guy's just like me. He's just a normal dude. He actually has people that don't show up to appointments too. He has people that, cancel on him too. He has business meetings that go bad. Like he's not going to just win all the time. And like, sure, you get, mostly wins when you're doing things right, but there's some shit that happens. And I like to post that and post, most importantly, the takeaway from that so that people can see that. And that breeds a lot of trust to where, like you said, even though it's sub 2,000 followers, people are DMing, and a lot of it is farming. So like the law of sowing and reaping is how I live a lot of my life, making deposits today so I can make larger withdrawals tomorrow versus a lot of people want to withdraw right now and they overdraft and then they're paying fees on the mistakes they made before because they wanted it too quick. So the law of sowing and reaping is like, people hit me up, I'm not immediately going for the kill. Like Gary Vee talks about jab, jab, right hook. Like I'm jabbing a few times first. They DM me, they're like, dude, appreciate that, good value. I'm like, thanks, man. Like, love what you do, keep crushing it. Right. Something super small and basic, but I'm not like, yo, buy my shit.
Right.
And then the second time they DM me, they get another piece of value, and they're like, oh man, I love this. Like your content's like changing my life. Keep it up. So, stupid shit like that. And then it stacks. And then finally they reach out and they're like, hey, how do I get involved in this? And then you go for the right hook.
How do you even take it a step back, right? Like, I mean, I've got 300,000 followers.
Yeah.
And sometimes I can't, I can speak to 10,000 people on stage. I can shoot a YouTube video with my eyes closed.
Yeah.
If you ask me to shoot a story, and like Christina knows this, like everyone here just shits on me. They're like, can you really not just grab your phone and say what you're up to? And I'm like,
yeah.
No, my life is hilariously boring. Like I have nothing going on. We'll make money or whatever. And I'm like, well, I don't want to show that. Like we didn't show the prior thing. And so like, I even suck at it sometimes. I can get to it and I can do the thing because I know how, but like, it is not my thing. And like I said, I got a lot of followers, right? Yeah. Josh is the same. Like all my partners are the same. And we don't really even go as hard as you've done it. And so there's a lot of people that are just going to, even if they had 100,000 or like if they have 1,000, they're like, I'm not going to do it. It's not worth my time. How did you get through that hump, and how can you help someone, whether they have 1,000 followers or 100,000 million followers, whatever? What do you think is like what helps you every day kind of wake up and be like, I'm going to do this. It's going to happen and I'm going to make it work because clearly it's working.
Yeah, I think it's two things. I mean, the first thing is just like anything else that you are not naturally good at. You just have to weigh the pros and cons of whether or not there's going to be a result, which like after listening to this, I hope people realize there is a result. Like there is a lot of good that can come from this. Like this stuff works and it has worked and it's going to continue to work. And so just knowing that there is a return, you just got to train yourself to do it. It's the same as going to the gym or anything else. Like it's a fucking habit. It's a pain in the ass, sure, to pull out your phone and remind yourself to like take a picture with somebody at a restaurant after a business meeting. Like it's annoying. It's awkward at first. Like you don't naturally do it. And so it seems weird, but then you do it and you do it again and you do it again. And then you get your first people that actually reach out and they say like, thank you, I got value from that. And you're like, really? What do you mean? Like, I think it was a stupid post. Right. And then you're like, okay, then it builds your belief a little bit. You start to realize that people actually value this stuff, even like every day, like, and then the second factor before I get distracted, the second point or the second reason I'd encourage you to do it is accountability. Like, I know that I've been doing this for so long. I'm going to have like hundreds of people that are like, did he not go to the gym today? Right. If I like, it sounds stupid, but seriously, if I don't post like paid my dues or like a picture of like my workout or whatever, like going to the gym, people are like, did he work out? And so for me, it's an accountability thing, like making sure that I'm doing my reading, making sure that I'm going to the gym. Like half of my stories are literally the same exact story every single day. Different book, different angle maybe. Maybe I'm in a different state while I'm reading, but it's still the book. It's still the gym. It's still eating healthy. It's still the cold shower, the sauna, the steam room, all this shit's the exact same. But people respect that because they're like, wow, this guy's consistent as fuck. I need that in my life. I want that in my life. And then half of it is like fresh content or fresh things that are happening. But just like anything else, you just got to do it. And as long as you stick it out for a couple of months, you're going to get people that get value and message you. And you're like, it reinforces the behavior because you get that dopamine kick.
So we talked a lot about your business today here in the Flying Friday, and you got a lot of good things going on. What do you think the biggest value was of us hanging out today and talk to people about like what you're doing next? Because you're kind of changing the game, right? Door knocking again sounds like the most like archaic thing in the world, but after talking to you and now getting to know you more and the industry, like it's a multiple nine-figure business, if not multiple billion-dollar in various niches and stuff like that, which I thought just was totally gone. But yeah, what did you get out of today? Tell people what you're up to and kind of how they can also connect with you because you guys are changing the game. And not even on door knocking, just like I think there's so much value that you can have for other people in the sales aspect. Just being able to, clearly a couple 100,000 or more with 2,000 people. Like that's sales. Obviously, door knocking is sales. Like leadership and team is sales. Like you're one of the best salespeople that no one knows yet.
Yeah, door to door is crazy, man. It teaches you a lot, and that's where a lot of this has come from.
Right.
Because I think I heard you say it like one time on our call or something. You're like, bro, if you can sell door to door, you can sell fucking anything.
You can sell anything.
Anything, and it's true. You go out there and you talk to a stranger, and even if you're a good salesperson, like in a call center, your first day on the doors, bro, you get your dick kicked in. Like people are like, what are you doing?
You probably get people to want to
get out of here. Yeah. I've had some people. I had one guy pull a gun on me only once, surprisingly, in 7 years, which is crazy. Yeah. I had some people that want to fight, crazy ladies that chase you down the street with the rags that are yelling at you.
So many Karens.
HOA presidents. It never ends.
Right.
But you get to a point where you like an objection that would have stopped you in your tracks and made you shake in your boots day one. You just roll past it 5 or 6 times, and next thing you know, they're signing a $70,000 contract for a solar system, and you just walked out with $13,000 in commissions, and your balls are just dragging on the floor. And so, like, carrying that into Instagram, like, there's a lot of things that are sales principles that you pick up, but the confidence and the persistence, and more than anything else, it's the resilience of, like, never quitting and pushing through, like, because door-to-door is so hard. Like, no matter how long you've been in this, it's so freaking challenging. Messes with your head.
Right.
Like, there's some serious mental games. Like, I've cried in porta potties. Like anybody that's knocked doors for like 2 years will say the same thing. Like, cried under a tree with a juice box from one of the neighbors that had pity on them while it's like drenching them in rain, just like the worst case scenario. But like you said, there are people here, like my buddy Mo, dude, 120 something million in 2 years in revenue, and all door knocking. Never did an ad in his life. And I'm talking to him and we're doing ads, and I'm like that's nuts to me even. And so today it was good because I have a lot of the sales side down, but there's structure and there's certain things. And like, I think the reason that coaches in general are so important is a lot of times deep down, we have these thoughts in the back of our head, whether it's doubts or fears or just like not knowing if you're on the right track or what decision to make. And sometimes you just need a different perspective from somebody who's been through what you've been through to tell you and walk you through that. And you're like, breath of fresh air. You're like, okay, you're right. Like I knew that, but I didn't, and I wouldn't have done it without you. And that's where I'm at in my business. Like there are things that we've wanted to change, we've talked about. And so some of that validation has been super helpful. And then obviously just being able to map out our vision and like, hey, we have this coming up. We want to do this. And you're like, oh yeah, we did that. Like we did this and it didn't work, and we did this and it like crushed. So you should try this because we dominated at this.
Right.
Like if I can shortcut time, like that's the way I look at masterminds and groups like this, is the money can always be made back, especially if you're in sales. You can always make more money. Money is always able to be made back really quickly, but you can't make back time. And so if I can condense time and, with money, that's a really good trade in my eyes. Mm-hmm. And so it's been huge, man.
Well, dude, I know that you have an event here coming up for a lot of people in the door knocking space, more solar space as well. Why don't you give it a little plug?
Yeah, so it's going to be the Ascend event, and we're going to be hosting it at Homestead Ranch Resort in St. George, Utah.
Nice.
Really cool venue. You know, there's been a few people. It's actually where I got married as well.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a sick spot, man. Really, really cool. Bunch of cabins, like man-made lake, shooting range. It's fun. And so we're going to be renting that place out, and it's going to be a 3-day event, October 5th through the 8th. You know, odkevents.com is the website, but it's going to be a lot of fun. Anybody that's in sales or specifically in door-to-door or solar, it's going to be a no-brainer. We're going to be going over primarily sales and recruiting because we've done a lot of stuff just like what we talked about with recruiting through social media that's worked really well. Most of it organic, like not paid, and gotten really high-quality recruits to the point where our retention rate for recruits and door-to-door is like 5 times higher than anybody else's. Like we don't have people quit almost ever. And it's because we have this, you know, process of vetting and anti-recruiting and stuff like that, basically the opposite of what the rest of the industry does in sales. We don't do sign-on bonuses. And so it's going to be a lot of fun. Sales and recruiting is what we're going to be going deep on, though.
Well, if they want to get in touch with you, what is your Instagram so they can hit you directly on the DMs?
Yeah, it's at Kota Ivers. And so KOTAIVERS, super easy handle. And you can find out all the stuff that I'm up to on there.
Dude, thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, appreciate it, man.
Guys, if you need any help on growing your brand, taking it to multiple 7-8 figures or even an exit, don't forget to DM me at Los Hustle or my business partner at Josh Snow on Instagram. That is it for today's episode. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll see you on the next episode of Powerhouse Brands.